think you're muted.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Juice Alert. Be sure to check out the BGN Sports Media's channel. It's in the description, and check out the Juice Alert also. We're definitely looking forward to this week. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media platform.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamon McKinney. I am responsible for all the content on the Juice Alert. Of course, you can find the Juice Alert on YouTube as well as podcasting platforms. The main question some of you fans might be asking is, where have I been lately? I've just had a lot of things going on. I've been taking a break from making content for a while. Don't necessarily want to apologize for it. It's just one of those things where it's unfortunate that, hey, I've had some things that have gone on throughout life. I'm a college student. I recently just got a job at a news station here near my university. Doing some great things off camera, behind the scenes, but definitely looking forward to getting back hopefully this week, and pretty much going forward I can, lay out a schedule and be consistent with content. But yeah, if you're excited about me returning back to making content, just follow the Juice Alert on YouTube as well as podcasting platforms. You can also follow the Juice Alert on Instagram as well. I believe it's the Juice Alert _ something like that. You can pretty much just type in the Juice Alert on Instagram, and you'll find me. My main Instagram actually recently was hacked, but I'm in the process of getting my account back. So if you guys are wondering why I haven't been on Instagram, that's the reason why. But you can also follow me on Twitter at Jamon McKinney. And yeah, it should be a great show for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of been a while since I've seen you post the video, but I know this is the game you're looking forward to because this is the divisional playoffs. The Green Bay Packers are the #1 seed. What's your thoughts of your team's season overall, like going into the playoffs, being that #1 team right now?
I'm ecstatic about our team, man. I really am. In the past couple of years, I've, held out the hope that, this team can really win it all. But in reality, in the back of my mind, it's like, yeah, this team relies on Aaron Rodgers a little bit too much. Have questions about the defense. Are we as talented as Seattle? Are we as talented as San Francisco? The Buccaneers last year I felt were a little bit better team than us. But, I think that this is a different Green Bay Packers team than in previous years. A big thing that I really had questions about Green Bay after especially the Saints game this year in week 1, where it was an absolute debacle, was, can this team play a physical brand of football, or at least be able to move the ball versus a physical football team like a San Francisco, like a Tampa Bay Buccaneers? The Buffalo Bills are a physical football team. They can punch you in the mouth. In the past, in past years, where teams would punch the Packers in the mouth, they wouldn't be able to come back. They wouldn't be able to respond. But I think this is a different Packers team for sure. This is a Packers team that has a lot of depth. You've seen that as there's been a lot of injuries this year. Everyone talks about the Ravens' injuries. They've probably been the most injured team all year, but I think that we're second behind them. We've had injuries to the offensive line, the wide receiver core, the defense, but Aaron Rodgers has kept us afloat, and a big reason why is because of, well, he's great, and he's probably going to win his 4th MVP award, but also he's got good players around him, and he's got a really good head coach. I'm sorry. I think a lot of people saw that Mike McCarthy got exposed this past week. A lot of people thought that a couple of years ago, Aaron Rodgers was the problem in Green Bay. It was not him. It was McCarthy. It was the lack of talent around Aaron Rodgers. But now this is a team that I expect to go out there and win. I really do. I think this team legitimately should be able to win the Super Bowl. I think you can make the argument it's the most complete team of the Aaron Rodgers era outside of the year that he won his only Super Bowl. And I'm excited. I definitely am. But there's a lot of pressure on this team because if you don't win it this year, you never know when you're going to win it. And Aaron Rodgers might be out the door. People forget that even Michael Jordan, when he won his 6th NBA championship, the Chicago Bulls still, let him go. He obviously retired and things like that and came back, but he didn't come back. And a big reason why was because of management and things like that. So while I do think if Green Bay wins a Super Bowl this year, it's going to be very hard to say Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, but you just never know with this organization because there's a little bit of an ego. But, at least we got to see that Jordan Love this year probably is not ready to play going forward. So, look, I'm all about winning now. I think Green Bay realized that they should kind of get in that mode as well because we saw, Aaron Rodgers was frustrated with the team throughout the offseason. He comes out and complains and makes it very clear that, hey, I'd like to be here, but I don't like how you guys do business. And they go out and sign a Devontae Campbell, who's an all-pro linebacker this year, who I was so excited that we got. You sign Rasul Douglas. Yeah, I believe that's his name. Yeah, Rasul Douglas, the corner. Yeah, sorry, I just forget my name sometimes. And You know, you go out and get Randall Cobb, a former teammate of Aaron Rodgers that he trusts, a guy that I think that will be very key down the stretch. And so Green Bay, they've been one of, if not the best team in football all season. They're the 1 seed for a reason, and that's despite having a lot of injuries. And now they're getting all the star players back. So that's how I feel. Are you good? Sorry, people, I can't see the well, can I see the comments?
No, something went weird.
I
You're good.
Okay, but yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on this Green Bay team, man.
Okay. Well, no. Like, I see what you're saying, that this is probably the best team you've ever seen by far. And yeah, this is probably the year that, because Aaron Rodgers has been complaining about this team going into the offseason, how this management hasn't been able to give him his weapons. And getting Randall Cobb is a huge factor because he's familiar with him. And the fact that you guys were able to give him what he wanted, but then Jordan Love, yeah, that takes time to develop. I don't think he's ready completely. But if it came down on the road, would you be kind of like thinking this could be Aaron Rodgers' final year, like final year as a Packer? Like, let's say this outcome comes the other way around. Would this be Aaron Rodgers' final season as a Green Bay Packer, whether it's this season going into the season or this game in general?
Well, there's been some whispers, you know, this was dating back to mid-season when the team was having success. And, you know, people realized that, hey, this Green Bay team for real, you know, they're going to win a lot of games. They'll probably maybe get at least back to an NFC championship game. This was before they clinched the 1 seed. There was kind of, you know, whispers throughout the organization, whether it be Mark Murphy and things like that, the team president, Brian Gutekunst kind of coming out and saying, hey, we're open to bringing back Aaron Rodgers because he is that great of a quarterback. And listen, you know, Green Bay, they do business a little differently than other people. They have no problem letting Jordan Love sit the bench and wait for a while. They're going to develop him properly. They're going to put him in a great position to succeed. But it was very clear this year that he just wasn't ready. And I'm sorry, you know, people can make excuses about, oh, the Kansas City Chiefs game was his first ever career start. Listen, people, Tyler Huntley came in as a backup quarterback in place of Lamar Jackson and actually went toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers, really throw for throw, his second game as a starter. So I don't want to hear this, oh, you got to give Jordan Love time. No, because, listen, when we drafted Jordan Love, I said, okay, you know, he better be so good that it's just one of those things where you couldn't pass up on him. And Jordan Love cannot just be an average quarterback. You can find an average quarterback on the market. There's plenty of Teddy Bridgewaters. There's plenty of Andy Daltons. Jimmy Garoppolo could be an option this upcoming season, you know? So it's one of those things where why are you trading up in the first round when you're in the middle of a Super Bowl window when you don't need a quarterback? You know, Aaron Rodgers didn't have the Aaron Rodgers-esque season that we're accustomed to seeing back in 2019, but the team still went to the NFC Championship game with a rookie head coach, and he was still performing like one of the best quarterbacks in football. He may have not been like, you know, in the MVP conversation that year, but the bad version of Aaron Rodgers is still better than probably your favorite quarterback out there. He was still performing like a top 10 guy. And there was reason to believe that, hey, if you improve the weapons, if he gets in the system with Matt LaFleur next year, he could make a jump. I said that multiple times. And we got to give these young wide receivers some time to grow. So I said all that to say this. Look, Jordan Love is not a threat to Aaron Rodgers. It really all just comes down to what direction the organization wants to go in and what's the outcome this year. I said at the start of the year that if Aaron Rodgers wants to guarantee that he's a Green Bay Packer for the foreseeable future, he has to win a Super Bowl because it's gotten to a point where it's like, you know, he's gotten to an NFC Championship game. He's gotten there multiple times, back-to-back seasons. But the organization, for whatever reason, just doesn't seem to be wanting to take the Tom Brady approach where, hey, Tampa Bay, they're going to ride with Tom Brady until the wheels fall off. Green Bay is one of those teams where they don't want to be without a quarterback because before they got Brett Favre, you know, it was a long time before Green Bay didn't have a quarterback, you know, and then they finally got Brett Favre, and then obviously you luck up and you get Aaron Rodgers. So it really just all boils down to multiple things. I do want to say this. If Green Bay wins a Super Bowl this year, it will be very hard for that organization to come to the microphone and look the fan base in the eyes and say, hey, we're going to Jordan Love, who to me was I liked him as a prospect, but I didn't think he was a transcendent prospect that you trade up for. So, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, when I look at it this way, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, he's got a lot of pressure for this game because a lot of this pressure about cementing his legacy, and I know he's never going to be in the same conversation as Tom Brady, but him getting at least getting 2 Super Bowls, that would definitely put him in the list. But when you look at his career playoffs, it doesn't really seem like as impressive. If you take away his Super Bowl win, he's barely 500 as a playoff quarterback. Like he's played really good football. When it comes down to his legacy, man, I look at Aaron Rodgers and he definitely did. Was the post Favre era. So when you look at Jordan Love, you're just hoping that you get something similar. And I know he's not ready, but some of it, he's getting the reps. That's what matters. Jordan Love needs the reps to build confidence. Look at Trey Lance. His first game, if you look at the difference between his first game, he didn't look good against the Cardinals. Then his game against the Houston Texans, he looked a lot better than expected. So, yeah, you got to give Jordan Love some reps too so he can have confidence and build up experience, and that's what matters. See, I wasn't really too high on Jimmy this year. I said if we're not going anywhere, let's just give this kid Trey Lance a chance to get some experience so he can get better. And that's what I was saying, but they want to go with Jimmy and up his trade value. I don't know how it's going to work, but we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I was actually one of the people that said, listen, people can talk about, oh, Trey Lance is a rookie. He's barely played any college football, only had the 1 year at North Dakota State. Obviously, kind of missed this past season, his final season of college football because of COVID, only had the one showcase game. But I'm saying, listen, people, Trey Lance, for one, is very talented. And I think that he has the physical profile to – see, here's the thing. When you look at young quarterbacks, you got to ask the question, can they protect themselves mentally and can they protect themselves physically? Trey Lance obviously has the physical skill set where he can run around, extend plays. He has the big arm to fit the ball into tight windows, has very good touch as well. He throws a really good deep ball. That's one of the things I liked about him. I had him rated as a top 3 quarterback in his class with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. I think he's the real deal. The real thing that really just, I think, held – the thing that kind of, I think, held the coaching staff back from playing was the mental side of the game because the Kyle Shanahan offense is a very complex offense. That's one of those things where you have a quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo that knows the offense and he's a veteran quarterback. And listen, there's value to having a veteran quarterback. It was pretty clear to me that, Justin Fields wasn't ready to step on the field this year, and Andy Dalton, actually because of his experience, to me was the guy that they probably should have rolled with. But again, it's one of those things where I'm not at practice, so I don't see them every day. So I didn't think it was a situation where the 49ers could really lose, whether they choose Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo. But I was making the argument, people were saying, oh, Trey Lance, he's going to overthrow guys. He's going to be slow to process defenses. Listen, Jimmy Garoppolo nearly gave away the game versus the Dallas Cowboys. There's inconsistencies with Jimmy Garoppolo as well. So why can't Trey Lance go out there and try to make mistakes and try to get better? Because you're going to get mistakes with Jimmy as well. Why not roll out Trey Lance, who gives you that upside with the big playability to where he can run around, make the big-time throws? Because I'm sorry, Jimmy Garoppolo is a decent starting quarterback. He's been to a Super Bowl. We got to respect him. But he just doesn't have those takeover traits that Trey Lance has. And I think that it's one of those things where people were saying, oh, he didn't look good versus the Cardinals. Well, it was his first game. He barely played. And it's not a Jordan Love situation where this guy, to me, just wasn't ready out the gate. I think Trey Lance, if you played a certain type of way with the weapons around him, he could have won. But, again, that's in the past. Jimmy's the guy for now. It will probably be his final game as a 49er potentially. So, yeah, we'll see what happens going forward. I'm excited to see what Trey Lance brings to the table. And God forbid, I'm not trying to wish upon a guy being a bust or anything, but, I mean, if Trey Lance hits, like, this 49ers team is really scary going forward. I'm just going to say it right now.
Yeah, it's like Trey Lance gives you more than what Jimmy can't do. I mean, I've seen some of these throws, like that Houston Texans game. There was that play where you didn't, not even Jimmy can throw that. It's like I see that play with Deebo Samuel getting that pass or whatever play. Usually Jimmy will throw in that short pass to Kyle Juszczyk or anybody else in those situations. But when you look at this matchup, even with Jimmy G as the quarterback, what's concerning about the 49ers for this game? I know it's a different game on week 3, and it's going to be a far different matchup when you guys play it this time around at your home field.
So, what's the concern? Well, I do think the 49ers match up pretty well with Green Bay. The one thing I will say is if they can't get pressure on Aaron Rodgers, it might be a long day because I still think the 49ers have a very good roster, but I think the secondary is a little weak. I think that Davante Adams will have his way if Aaron Rodgers is able to give him the ball and he's able to buy time. And I think Aaron Rodgers had a pretty good game the first time around versus the 49ers, and you guys were pretty healthy at that time on the defensive side of the ball. So it's just one of those things where if the 49ers cannot get pressure on Aaron Rodgers, it will be a long day. And also, ideally, I don't think the 49ers, if they fall behind early, I don't think they're coming back, because I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo has the built-in skill set to allow this team to come back. I know that Green Bay dominated for most of the game back in week 3, and Jimmy was able to lead them back in that game. I just don't see that scenario happening. That was in San Francisco. It's now being played in Green Bay. And listen, Jimmy Garoppolo, the year that he went to a Super Bowl with you guys had home field advantage. You didn't come to Lambeau Field. So it's a whole different animal going to the frozen tundra, so to speak. It probably is, I don't think it's going to snow, but it's going to be close to 0 degrees. So, yeah, it's one of those things where the 49ers have to start fast and they have to play a physical brand of football. If they start fast and play a physical brand of football, I do believe that they will have a chance late in the game, especially, if they can keep Aaron Rodgers off the field with their run game. But again, the run game has to show up. The offensive line has to be able to protect Jimmy Garoppolo and things like that. So, yeah, it's one of those things where if they can win the line of scrimmage, they have a good shot of, at least keeping the game close. But that's how I feel.
Yeah, that's one thing that gives us more an advantage. Like, we definitely know how to play you guys well. But like you said, if it comes down to you guys having this lead, it's going to be hard for us to come from behind. Like, no offense to the Rams, you had a 17-0 or 17-3 on halftime. That was just one of those fluky situations. And I don't know, like Dallas, they just let us just run by them, and they're a far different team. But compared to you guys are the number 1 seed. You guys are well rested. You have home field advantage. It's hard to win in Green Bay, and especially in January. It's frozen tundra. This is a tough weather, and not all teams come away with wins in Green Bay as much. I mean, Green Bay is really tough. Aaron Rodgers has that crowd. I mean, this is where Aaron Rodgers can definitely prove himself that he can get over the hump. But this game alone, if this comes the other way around, like if we dominate the line of scrimmage and we're able to play good defense, I feel like we have the ability to make it hard for Aaron Rodgers and have to play catch up. But like you said, if it comes down to that lead, man, it's not going to be easy. It's probably going to be a long day. And if we don't pressure Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be a very, very long day, because Aaron Rodgers can capitalize. Like, if you give him some time and his receivers start to open up, this secondary is, I don't know, like, it's suspect. But if you guys hate those deep shots, that's the weakest part of our secondary, is those deep shots. If you throw in those deep passes, more than likely you'll win some 50-50 balls on those plays. And that's what concerns me about your matchup, is your receivers. Devontae Adams, he should be able to win those contests. Randall Cobb, he should have his opportunities. I mean, you look at your other receivers. I don't know who Lazar, he's a big dude. He should be able to win some matchups. And then you got St. Brown, another big speedy receiver. That should be good matchups right there for you guys. And your tight ends. I forget your tight end's name, Tonyan or whatever. Robert Tonyan?
Tonyan's actually out for the year. We have Marcedes Lewis and Josiah DeGuara. DeGuara has actually come on pretty well at the end of the year, so he's a weapon to look out for. And Marcedes Lewis, he's going to be able to block, and he's just a reliable target that's there, if Aaron needs him. He brings that physicality,
Yeah, and then you look at your running game. Yeah, Aaron Jones is a very tough running back to stop, too. And then A.J. Dillon's a physical big back. I mean, we've faced some big backs before, but Dillon's kind of like a physical type back, so we can see what he's capable of. Like, he'd give you those tough yardage. He's very tough to tackle. I mean, he's got that big body. It's like, it's kind of like when you tackle that big guy, he might just run you over here and there, but he'll give you some of those tough yards. So that's what I like about this guy, this A.J. Dillon, bro. This is a big running back. I think he weighs about 240, like 6 foot or 6'1", 240. Dude, that dude's a beast, bro. Like, I feel like the run defense should be up for the challenge. I mean, Aaron Jones, he's just a really good shifty back. He's quick. He can really get some separate. Like, he can catch the ball off the backfield too. That's what makes him very good. And then he can run through those small holes and increases. That's what makes Aaron Jones very underrated. I don't think he gets talked about much as that top running back because of Aaron Rodgers and that offense. I feel like Aaron Jones doesn't get much talk about. Don't you agree?
I do think Aaron Jones, his overall impact for this team really, to me, is, we brought him back for a reason. And I actually was against the move of bringing back Aaron Jones, because I've always believed that, the offensive line is what makes the run game. Obviously, you have the Jonathan Taylors of the world. You have the Derrick Henrys of the world, the Saquon Barkleys of the world when he's really healthy and going well. The guys that are just interchangeable, where there's probably about 5, maybe 6 running backs in the NFL right now where it does not matter about the offensive line. They're going to get theirs. They can elevate pretty much any offensive line. I don't think Aaron Jones is quite in that category, but for what he brings to the table for our offense, I understand it. And at the same time, Aaron Rodgers, he's an aging quarterback. You never know quite when he's going to potentially fall off that cliff. There's pretty much a lot of proof that's not going to happen anytime soon. But who knows? Peyton Manning literally threw 55 touchdown passes, his second to last season with the Denver Broncos, I believe. Well, yeah, it was either the second to last or the year before he really fell off. But the bottom line is Peyton Manning just out of the blue sucked. Like the same thing with Brett Favre. He was great his 1 year, then just out of nowhere starts to decline. So you never know when that steep decline is going to happen. So it's one of those things where, Green Bay just realized that, hey, Aaron Jones knows the offense. Aaron Rodgers trusts him. And we're going to try to bring back enough guys to help Aaron Rodgers out. So, look, I think Aaron Jones is properly rated among running backs. I don't think he's underrated. I don't think he's overrated. I think that he's properly rated because I think people respect his game. They realize what he brings to the table. But I think that A.J. Dillon is the perfect complement to Aaron Jones just because Aaron Jones is kind of a skinny guy. He's a shifty guy. He doesn't have a whole lot of natural, I would say, meat on his bones. He's obviously a strong guy, but, he's not as physically big built as like an A.J. Dillon to where if you give Aaron Jones 25 carries 1 week, the next week, you probably don't want to do that because his body is probably going to wear down a little bit. That's why they drafted A.J. Dillon. And A.J. Dillon is so key because and really so effective because it really surprised me. He's really good at catching passes out of the backfield. For his size, he has really good hands. And so it's one of those things where you have to account for not only the physicality of A.J. Dillon, but also him potentially, being effective in the passing game. And Aaron Jones, we know what he brings to the table. So I think that we have one of the best running back duos in the entire NFL. And our offensive line is starting to get more healthy. So it's going to be definitely tough for the 49ers if they don't bring their A game.
Definitely is. I mean, it could be one of those matchups. But like when I look at those matchups we played lately, like we've been able to stop the run in those other games. I mean, we've limited guys like Sony Michel and we limit Zeke. I mean, Zeke hasn't been the same, but Tony Pollard, like I don't know how this guy doesn't get much carries, but I guess it's Dallas's loss. And then you look at I mean, we stopped guys like James Robinson, which he's a good running back. I mean, he doesn't get that guy's a beast. But then you look at another running back. I guess it doesn't matter who the Tennessee Titans running backs are because even with Derrick Henry or not, they still figure out ways to run the ball effectively. We were able to limit them under 100 yards. And then you look at Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is, I think he's probably at least in my top 3 or somewhere around there. Like he's a beast for the Bengals, and we limit this guy very good. Like we limited him, like I think under 50 or something yards, I believe. But the point is, I think you guys are going to bring a different challenge. I mean, A.J. Dillon's going to give you those tough yardage. I mean, Aaron Jones is very shifty, so that could be the most challenging part. If our linebackers can really stop in your running game, and then our D-line gets towards A.J. Dillon, then maybe it's anybody's ball game. But, yeah, that would be the one challenging part is to slow down your running game. But then even if you force Aaron Rodgers to throw the ball, that's going to be more pressure on him. So I think that will be the key factor is to stop that running game as early as possible and force Rodgers, even though it's not something we want to do, but he might have to throw in 40 to 50 passes if he has to.
I will say if the 49ers, and I think this is the blueprint they'll try to use because in the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago where the 49ers absolutely destroyed the Green Bay Packers, the first year of the Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers era, they were able to get pressure with only rushing 4 and a lot of pressure. Like it was not even fair. Okay. So if they can kind of duplicate that game plan where they drop people back into coverage and they're only rushing 4 and Aaron Rodgers, is feeling that heat, then you definitely have a chance for sure. But it's one of those things where you're really taking a gamble that way. So I think that, the defensive coordinator is going to have to definitely mix some things up for San Francisco. You can't just do the same thing the entire game because eventually Aaron Rodgers will kind of figure that out. So you got to keep him on his toes. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where that's going to be mainly the blueprint for the 49ers, playing fast, playing physical, and you're going to have to get home rushing 4 at times. That's my humble opinion.
Yeah, and plus we got because like you said, Rodgers can adjust and he can figure out stuff, and that will be the concerning factor. Sometimes we got to mix it up a little bit, and that's what makes it very different with DeMeco Ryans' type of defense. Like No offense to Robert Saleh, he was good at one point, but he had the ability to stop your quarterback. But I don't know, D'Amico Ryans just likes to mix it up and get a little bit of blicks here and there, and that's what I like about D'Amico. And even though it's his first year as a defensive coordinator, I feel like when it comes to the halftime adjustment, this guy figures out ways to close it out a little bit, and I think that's what makes it interesting about this challenge. I mean, Green Bay, I know that there's some injury reports on one of your players, like who are going to play this week. I mean, or who's going to be out this week, if you had to tell me.
Well, we don't know quite yet, but I mean, all reports point to us really having a healthy football team. I think Zadarius Smith, he's going to be probably a game time decision, but I would say there's about a 70% chance he plays. Jair Alexander should be back. Randall Cobb has already confirmed that he's going to play. He's on the questionable. He's listed as questionable, but he's already kind of confirmed that he's going to play. Whitney Merciless is going to play. He's a guy that is very underrated for our defense. He's a guy that we bring in as far as the rotation goes. Bakhtiari should be back. Josh Myers should be back. Billy Turner should be back. So we pretty much got a full squad, man. I'm not really concerned about the injuries. And, we've been overcoming them all season. So even if we have to overcome the injuries, we've done it. We have.
Yeah, I guess you guys have proved it before. So, like, when I look at, like, I guess there's only one player that's going to be out. That's Marquez Scantley. That's the only one that's doubtful. And then looking at the Niners injury report, Bosa's making progress. He's already practicing. Warner's, he tweeted that he'll be fine. He kind of just apologized for that kind of reaction of what he did. So he said he should be good. I mean, a lot of the injuries have determined on their players, but they've actually came and overcame it. So I feel like our players should be on deck for this game. Yeah, this matchup should be really good when I look at it. I mean, we've been going back with this rivalry. It's been going back in playoff history. It's been going back for a while, even through the Brett Favre days and the Aaron Rodgers, whoever he faces that quarterback. It's like Aaron Rodgers doesn't even know which one he's gonna play, but he already knows he's gonna play Jimmy this week, so he ain't gonna have to worry about dealing with Trey because Trey's already like gonna have to learn. So that's the thing about Aaron Rodgers. He does have a lot of pressure, and you guys are the number one seed. So this expectation for you guys are when you have your first round bye, you should be rested. You should be healthy. You should have no excuses. You're going to play a home game. And this 49ers team, we're the underdogs. We have no business being here. So you got to put the blame on the Rams for letting this happen. You got to put the blame on the Cowboys for letting this happen because we're here. We're here to make statements. And I know this game alone, the Packers have to overcome adversity. So I feel like you guys should be able to be up for the challenge. But how do you feel about this pressure with this 49ers team coming to Green Bay? Like, do you feel like this is something you got to get over the demons?
I mean, this is a game that we should win, and really, if we don't get to the Super Bowl this year, it's a disappointment because we've been to an NFC Championship game in the past couple of years, and I can argue that this team is better than the previous 2 years. I think every single year, even the record shows, the record's pretty much been the same. We've gotten a little bit better, and we're now more experienced. So there's no more excuses about, Matt LaFleur is a rookie head coach. That's out the window. Matt LaFleur might be in the conversation for coach of the year this year. We don't have a run game. We have a run game. The weapons are there. Aaron Rodgers playing some of the best football of his career. He's got a first round bye. He should be healthy. The defense, it's not perfect, but it's better than in years past. It really is. And this is the opportunistic defense that makes plays. So, look, the defense has to show their stripes. I'm not too concerned about Rodgers because even on his worst days, he's going to get to 20 points. He's never failed to score 20 points throughout his career in a playoff game. I think that some of his struggles in the playoffs have been a little bit overblown. The Seattle game where there's the onside kick, the Atlanta game where he's driving down the field doing what he can and guys are fumbling, missing field goals. We fall behind early. Probably shouldn't have been there in the first place because we had a horrible defense. But one thing about the Aaron Rodgers era is Aaron's going to win the games in the playoffs that he should win. Like, he beats these types of teams. Like, he's going to beat Dak Prescott. He's going to beat, this 49ers team. I definitely think that we're going to win this game. Spoiler alert. I know we haven't gotten to picks yet, but I'm picking Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers, he wins the games that he should win. It's really just getting over the hump in the NFC Championship game. So I think that next week is really where the concern maybe, boils in, whether we play the Rams or the Buccaneers. I'm actually not as worried this year. It's one of those things where I had concerns a little bit last year. But this year I really don't have a whole lot of concerns. I think that this team definitely has a chance to win it all. And, it's one of those things where I'm confident in this team. I really am. But yeah. By the way, nice chain. I forgot to compliment you. It's a nice chain.
Thanks for that, man. So speaking of that, like when you're talking about you feel as confident as you feel about this team this year, who would be the X factor for your team? I mean, who would be the one guy on your offensive defense that should be able to be the X factor? Like, let's say you guys were in better position to beat us, and who would have to be that X factor for this game?
Well, really, to me, Marquez Valdes-Scantling is that guy. But if he doesn't play, then I'm going to throw him out. So to me, assuming Scantling doesn't play, I would honestly say it's probably going to be Randall Cobb. I really do firmly believe that. You know, he brings a different dynamic to this offense. He's the guy that Aaron Rodgers looks to in key situations on third down. Randall Cobb actually hasn't really lit the world on fire this year. He's missed a couple of games. The stat sheet hasn't showed that, oh, Randall Cobb's a threat, but I think that in big spots, he's the guy that Aaron's going to look to. And I think that honestly, really, I think Matt LaFleur has kind of been saving Randall Cobb for these moments where we're not showing a whole lot. We're not getting him involved in the offense unless it's really in the red zone. I think that this is really going to be a situation where we really see Randall Cobb get more involved in this offense. He can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. We can line him up in motion. You know, he's a really good threat at getting open when Aaron Rodgers is buying time, moving outside the pocket. He's a guy that Aaron Rodgers trusts. He doesn't drop a lot of passes. He's good after the catch, and he's a weapon that you have to pay attention to. So on the offensive side of the football, I got to say it's Randall Cobb, man. And on the defensive side of the football, man, that's tough, you know. I mean, I would say really just the pass rush overall, especially on the interior, because, you know, I'll go with Rashawn Gary. I'll go with Rashawn Gary because he's a guy that when he's playing really well, like this team's a different defense. And there's been some situations where in the Minnesota game, we get no pressure on Kirk Cousins. We end up losing that game. You know, the New Orleans Saints game where we got dominated in pretty much every facet. We weren't getting pressure on Jameis Winston. So, look, when we're getting pressure on the quarterback, that's when they start to make mistakes. We're an aggressive defense, but we can't just sit back and say, "Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo, we don't fear you." You know, we need to play some tight man-to-man coverage. We need to bring the pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. You know, we might give him some big plays, but I think we're also going to make big plays as well in the process. So I think Rashawn Gary, who's a young player that's really coming to his own this year, is going to be the X factor on the defense potentially. When he's going well, the defense is really good. And I think that he honestly could have been a borderline Pro Bowler this year. He's been that good for us. And I think that on offense, Randall Cobb's the guy.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree on that because Randall Cobb does have chemistry with Rodgers, and he's actually had some playoff experience with him, and they've actually had some good history when it comes to battling teams in the playoffs, and he's been clutch for them. So
and really quickly, not to cut you off, but last year at the trading deadline, I was screaming on my channel, trade for Randall Cobb. I mean, he doesn't cost that much. It's a low draft pick that you would need for him. And Aaron Rodgers is familiar with him. And in that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, you go back and watch that game, Randall Cobb, if you insert Randall Cobb into that situation, I think we win that game because really where that game was lost, obviously we had a bad first half, but we came roaring back in the second half. But it's just one of those things where in the red zone, we couldn't quite execute. And, you know, Davante Adams was taken away, and no one else made plays outside of Valdes-Scantling, who made a couple of plays. But Randall Cobb would have been perfect in that matchup. So, again, I'm happy that they actually listened to me and got someone like Randall Cobb, and I think that Randall Cobb is definitely going to be an X factor for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the point of what you're saying, the experience and the familiarity with him and Rodgers. They've been doing this in the playoffs before, so that does kind of give you the X factor. And plus, he wasn't used as much because of the injury, so that's definitely one guy to look out for. Rashawn Gary, I've heard his name pop up. He's definitely coming into his own. I think he's got 9.5 sacks this year, and he's been like one of your best defenders as a pass rusher. I mean, so Darius Smith was coming off injuries. What's that dude's name? Preston Smith. I don't know. I haven't heard much about him lately, but I've seen him have his ups and down games. And then Whitney Merciless, who you just picked up from the Texans, which I was like thinking, man, I guess Texans are getting rid of players like a fire sale out there. So it's like ridiculous. But when I look at the matchup between the Niners, on offense, I know you guys are probably going to focus on Debo and Ayuk and Kittle in any other way, but you guys are going to have to watch out for Jennings, man. Juwan Jennings, when his name's out there, man, he's going to capitalize. He's a good blocker, but there's been those third down situations to where Jimmy does trust that guy. And then when it comes down to third and short or whatever distance, this guy will make the catches and make the plays when it matters. And that's the one X factor I think will kind of determine whether we're in this game or not. And then on defense, it has to depend on Ivory Thomas because our secondary, like you said, it's our Achilles heels, it's our weakness. But if Avery Thomas can step up, which I don't have a concern with Mosley. Mosley's kind of been having his moments, but I feel like if Avery Thomas keeps on getting better, I feel like the secondary can overcome it. But the weakness of our game is when you guys test our secondaries deep, that's where it hurts us the most, and that's where you guys could either win your 50-50 balls. But if this secondary can step up to the plate, man, I think we have a chance to at least come away with a win. But that's if the secondary does their job, but it has to depend on the pass rushers. If Bosa comes at health, if our players step up like they were doing, there's a difference. Stats are kind of like whatever, but when it comes down to pressuring Aaron Rodgers, there's a lopsided passer rating, and that's ridiculous. Like, if you don't pressure Aaron Rodgers, he's going to put on some great passer rating, but if you pressure him consistently, his numbers go down significantly. Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, I don't know how you can get this guy going from top passer rating, and then as soon as you pressure him consistently, he doesn't look great.
I mean, any quarterback doesn't like pressure in their face, whether it be Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, So, I mean, it's one of those things where I get it. He regresses to the mean a little bit, but at the same time, I've seen situations where if you blitz Aaron Rodgers, if you don't get home, like, he's going to make you pay. I mean, he's probably going to win the league MVP this year, if not going to finish second. I think he deserves the MVP, but that's a discussion for another day. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where we know what the 49ers are going to bring to the table, but I do think that this Green Bay Packers team is different from Packers teams of old, where we've fallen from behind in several games this year, where Chicago jumped on us, Cincinnati jumped on us early. I'm forgetting some matchups in my head, but I mean, it's one of those things where this team has the ability to strike back. And I think that's very key because, it's one of those things where in the past, we only had a couple ways to win, where we had to play fast. And a lot of Aaron Rodgers-led teams were pretty. They were fast. They were finesse. And, you would get out to an early lead, and you would pretty much hold on to that lead and say, hey, defense, try to make a play. Aaron's going to, make sure that we protect you, But it's one of those things where even in the Seattle game where Aaron Rodgers wasn't as great, the defense stepped up. It's one of those things where in the Chicago Bears game, late in the season where the defense wasn't all that great, Aaron Rodgers shows why he's the MVP. So this Packers team has shown they can win in multiple ways. I will say special teams, I hope it's not an issue because throughout the year, our special teams has been atrocious. It's been bad. Now, Mason Crosby, I'm happy he's gotten out of his funk because at the midpoint of the season, he was one of the worst kickers in all football. But he's started to get back to the Mason Crosby that we know and love, and this Packers team is starting to execute better in the red zone. The first 10 weeks of the season, we were at like 56% in the red zone, which is really kind of disappointing for an Aaron Rodgers-led team. I think we were like, 24th in that category. The last like 6 or 7 weeks, we've been top 5, where that was a big reason why we were so scary last year was because I believe we had like an 80%, conversion rate in the red zone as far as touchdowns, which is insane. So it's one of those things where this team is peaking at the right time. I think we've gotten all of our lumps out the way where we've lost games. We haven't peaked at the wrong time. I think we're peaking just at the right time. Guys have had their funks, and things like that, and they're out the way. And now it's time to go try to win a Super Bowl for sure.
Yeah, this is the pressure for Rodgers. Like, definitely, man. Green Bay, there's a lot of this expectation for you guys. You guys have no excuses. Your players are coming off of injuries. This is home field advantage. So, yeah, this is where Green Bay definitely has to win this game. It's a must-win for you guys because we're just here to come at the moment, and I guess you could say we're like house money. We're not even supposed to be here, and you guys are the ones supposed to beat us. So, like, whatever happens in that outcome, whether we upset you guys, it's kind of a major accomplishment. But if we don't, hey, we were not even supposed to be here anyways. So it was a great run. Yeah.
it's one of those things where Kyle Shanahan's going to be judged on the Trey Lance era. That's the bottom line, because he's gotten to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, there's been some inconsistent seasons where, Kyle Shanahan overall is a little bit above 500, or he's right around 500 for his career. So, I don't buy into Kyle Shanahan being a top 5 coach in the NFL like some people say that he is. I think that he's good. I really do. I think that he's capable. And he's been to a Super Bowl. And listen, I think that had more to do with him than Jimmy Garoppolo. I for sure think that, so it's one of those things where Kyle has some time to get this right, but eventually you got to get it right because, again, this is your guy. There's no more excuses now. I mean, outside of maybe getting a couple more defensive backs, what do the 49ers not do well? The offensive line is really good. Trent Williams is one of the best players in all football. Pro Football Focus rated him as the best player in all football, I believe. I think that came out, and I saw that. I saw it on Twitter. Bottom line, Trent Williams is amazing. That offensive line is really good. Elijah Mitchell, he's coming to his own. Really good running back. The run game is there. Trey Sermon's a good player. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, he's out the doghouse now. He's playing really well. George Kittle, when he's healthy, he's great. The defense has star players, so it's one of those things where I get that it's a tough division with Seattle, who I think could bounce back next year. Obviously, you got the Cardinals, you got the Rams, but there's no reason to believe that this 49ers team shouldn't be making the playoffs most years, And again, you got to get it right. Trey Lance has to be that guy. And I would say in the next 4 to 5 seasons, if you're not making deep postseason runs, Kyle, what are you doing? Because there are coaches out there that would definitely be able to do that if Trey Lance reaches his potential.
Yeah, that it does determine on Trey Lance now, because if Shanahan doesn't develop him the way he wants to develop him, it's definitely on him. He has no excuses. The one scapegoat that most people want to throw the excuse on, it would have to be on John Lynch, but he's safe because we're in the playoffs. But when you look at it that way, yeah, like everybody wants to know what he can do with Trey Lance. That's the one thing, because he hasn't had a quarterback exactly like that since I can remember. He's worked with quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins. He's worked with quarterbacks like RG3. He's worked with quarterbacks like Matt Schaub, Matt Ryan, Brian Hoyer. I mean, then he started working on his own with Jimmy G and Nick Mullins and those other guys, and they're not even all that savvy, dude. They're not like the ones that scare you. They're not that, wow, like they scare me type of quarterback. Like Trey Lance, he has something like potential. He has that that might just make Shanahan go up to another level. And this is the one thing that we should try to establish. We should be more than just a run team. To be honest, we should have a quarterback that can carry us, like an Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been doing this for the Packers for years. He's been carrying you guys when you guys didn't have much of a running game at one point. Your defense was okay, but Rodgers was able to carry you guys. He was able to take you guys further, even with lesser talent at one point, but you had the receivers, the running game was all right. I mean, your line was solid, bro, but the one excuse on Aaron Rodgers was that defense, even though he won a Super Bowl, but he still carried you guys further, just like Russell Wilson does. No offensive line. His defense was declining a little, but he still carried that franchise. We don't have that kind of quarterback like that. So that's what we're hoping for, As Niner fans, we're hoping that Trey Lance can be that guy. But we'll see, man. Like, I feel like the upside's off the roof,
And listen, your division is very tough, and it's a really good quarterback division. And listen, this past year, really 80 to 90% of the time, the best quarterback in the division usually wins the division. Matthew Stafford won his division this year. I think he's better than Kyler Murray. But it's close, but Stafford, Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes, Josh Allen, I can go on and on, but the bottom line is usually 70 to 80% of the time, the top dog in the division is the team that has the best quarterback. It's no longer the early 2000s. It's no longer, the 1980s. You need that guy at quarterback. And listen, you're going to have to go toe-to-toe with Matthew Stafford, who's going to be in the MVP conversation for at least the next 3 to 4 seasons. You're going to have to go toe-to-toe with Kyler Murray, who to me is a rising star in this league, probably a top 10 quarterback right now. Even though he had a pretty bad game this past week. Russell Wilson, who's to say that if Seattle doesn't put more talent around him, he could bounce back. A lot of people forget that Russell Wilson a year ago, he threw 40 touchdown passes. Russell Wilson ain't going nowhere. He's 33 years old. So Trey Lance has to be that guy. And I think that, honestly, the 49ers had peaked with Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, I don't see a scenario where Jimmy Garoppolo can lead this team to another Super Bowl. And you have to look at how you guys got to the Super Bowl. Jimmy did not have to do a whole lot in those games. The Minnesota Vikings game, it was all about the defense and the run game. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, didn't even throw like 25 passes. We saw the Green Bay Packers game where he threw 8 passes. The run game and the defense were so dominant that me or you could have played quarterback and Green Bay probably would have still lost. And then in the Super Bowl, when there were opportunities to be had to put the 49ers away, Jimmy Garoppolo didn't come through. There were guys open. I did a film analysis on my channel where George Kittle was open multiple times. We know about the situation where Emmanuel Sanders, beats the defensive back. And really, if you hit that throw, you probably put away the Chiefs and win the Super Bowl. So it's one of those things where not only does Trey Lance, to me, have that upside and things like that, to where Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have that upside, to where, hey, we can trust eventually Trey Lance, if he develops, to throw the ball 35 to 40 times and we can win. But also, I think Trey Lance has the mental fortitude to say, hey, I probably shouldn't throw this interception right here. Like, hey, let me check the ball down to my running back. There's a little bit of recklessness to Jimmy Garoppolo's game, and there's just some inconsistencies to his game. And listen, he can't stay healthy either. That's another thing. Like, his durability is a concern as well. So, look, this is not to bash Jimmy Garoppolo. He's been to a Super Bowl. There's some respect out there that should be had for him. And he's going to make an NFL team potentially happy this year and bring some stability in the offseason. But it's the Trey Lance era going forward for me.
Yeah, definitely. Trey Lance era. I mean, I feel like that's what we're hoping for and hoping that he could be this guy. But he's already been proven his time. It's always been his durability. It's always been the consistency. Even when he was healthy, there's always been a little bit off his game. And it's always been the most concerning factor about him is he's just never been able to play a really good game at times. I mean, there's times he played a shootout with Drew Brees and actually won the battle. But other than that, he's never been the guy to carry the team. He's never been the guy to really put the team in good position. He would always be the guys that stepped up, the running game, the defense. They would always bail them out. So when you look at it that way, we're looking at Trey Lance and hoping this guy could be the savior, like could be the guy. I mean, I'm not expecting him to be like another Aaron Rodgers. I don't expect him to be like a Josh Allen. I just want this Trey Lance kid to put up the team on his back and carry us when he has to. Like you don't get quarterbacks like that, but his upside, it's off the roof. And I've seen enough of what Jimmy's ceiling is. He is what he is. He's a guy that you put him in a proper system and you give him a better supporting cast, and this guy's going to win you ball games. But if you put him with different talents and different surroundings and not much talent around him, I've seen the Jimmy that I've seen. He doesn't play as good as everybody else. But if that running game goes well, then Jimmy plays well. But if he doesn't, you'll see the bad Jimmy most likely, because that's just how Jimmy is. Jimmy isn't going to carry you. He isn't going to put his team on his back and put you in the game to win. He doesn't do that. You got to give him the assistant, give him the defense, give him the running game, and Jimmy will look like you just said, the playoff game we had, Jimmy had it pretty easy. Like even that Green Bay game, I could have played quarterback and we would have won this game. I could have completed a pass and this would have been a wrap. It could have been a couple short passes and that was it. Jimmy had it pretty easy. That's my thing. Is like, dude, Jimmy, you have no excuses, dude. You overthrew it past to Brandon Ayuk. And if you did that against Green Bay, you're giving them an opportunity to come from behind. And that's what scares me about playing Green Bay is you can't play like that.
For sure. I pretty much agree with everything you said. It's one of those things where, the 49ers had everything except really the quarterback, in the Super Bowl. I just feel like that, everyone blames Kyle Shanahan, talking about, Kyle Shanahan didn't run the football enough. You got to blame Kyle Shanahan. Listen, I understand that there is some responsibility to be put on Kyle Shanahan and even Robert Saleh at the time, who was the defensive coordinator, because you did let the Chiefs kind of come back a little bit. But I think the defense did a heck of a job containing that really great offense for at least 3.5 quarters. And, I mean, it's one of those things where if your quarterback on the other side can't put the other team away, then you're kind of leaving the defense out there to hang and dry. And it's one of those things where the 49ers, they should have won that Super Bowl. To me, the Chiefs, they just kind of caught fire in the fourth quarter. And credit to them, they won. But to me, I felt the 49ers were better pretty much in almost every facet except maybe the weapons and the quarterback. But, yeah, that was a Super Bowl where I picked the 49ers coming into that Super Bowl to win. And I was wrong, obviously. But, I mean, I felt it was for good reason. I felt they had a great team. But the flaws showed in the biggest moments. And it's one of those things where, like I said, this is no longer the early 2000s. I even said I was talking to my friend recently. I was talking about how hey, even Bill Belichick's gonna have to adjust, because it's not, you need a dynamic offense now. It's not one of those things where I think that it'll be a long time before we see another Nick Foles win a Super Bowl. I mean, Jared Goff even got to a Super Bowl at the peak of his powers, and he couldn't win with a stacked team. Like his team was great. Same with Jimmy Garoppolo. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, definitely. Let's just do one more of the final questions. We'll put let's see. All right, score prediction. All right, since we're talking like the score predictions of the game, I know you have your team winning, but how do you feel how they're going to win and why with the score prediction?
I think Green Bay wins somewhere along the lines of 31-17, 34-17, something like that. It's just one of those things where they've already beaten the 49ers once. Okay, that's for one. So, and listen, like I said in the past, the 49ers have had Aaron Rodgers' number in the playoffs. He's 0-3 versus the 49ers in the playoffs in his career. I get it, but this is a different Green Bay Packers team. This is not a Green Bay Packers team that is going to get pushed around like they did in the past. And listen, we have a great team around Aaron Rodgers, and this is one of those things where this is the game that Aaron Rodgers should win. And in the playoffs, like I said, more times than not, 9 times out of 10, Aaron Rodgers wins the playoff games that he should win. And I think that overall, I think Green Bay is going to start fast. They're going to be fresh. They're going to be well rested. They're going to be healthy. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come out with a point to prove. They'll score early. They'll score often. I think the run game will do enough. I think Davante Adams will have a big game. I expect Alan Lazard to bring some physicality to that passing game. I think A.J. Dillon will be heavily involved in this matchup. And I think that overall, I just think that, once Green Bay, punches San Francisco in the mouth, it's just one of those things where you do have Deebo Samuel, you do have George Kittle. They will move the football, but I think that Green Bay's defense will make enough opportunistic plays to the point where it'll open things up for the offense, and they'll get after Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's one of those things where if Garoppolo is playing from behind, I mean, he almost gave away the game versus the Cowboys with a lead. Like, even Jimmy Garoppolo has his flaws when he plays with a lead. Like, you've seen some games where the leads have been blown. So Green Bay, I believe, is favored by 5.5 points. I'm going to take the 5.5 points in favor of Green Bay. I'm going to say they cover, and they win by at least a touchdown. I think they're the better team, and I think that they're going to win this game.
That's a bold prediction. So yeah, like get over your demons and get over the hump. Man, that's kind of like the way it should be for you guys. You guys should have this because this is the game for Rodgers to have this game and go further. But in all reality, man, like we played you guys pretty well. I don't know how it's going to go. If the Niners do exactly what they're supposed to do, this can be the upset, and everybody else is putting it as a underdog team. We're not supposed to be here. This is house money, but you guys are pretty much the favorites. Yeah, 5.5 point favorites in the betting, whatever they put in. I feel like that's the one problem about Vegas. They kind of pick. They don't always pick the other people, so that's always the other way around. So I definitely could see this game coming down to the wire. But it could be the reason why your season could be over because of your kicker. Mason Crosby might be the factor. He might be the reason why you guys might not even beat us. So I'm just saying, I don't know. Like you said, Crosby's got his group together, but I wouldn't trust Mason Crosby if my game was on the line. Like, there's been games where he should have won. Like, he almost blew a couple of games. But as I see this game going forward, this is a different team. The running game's far different, man. Like, we got Deebo as our weapon. I don't know if you guys will have answers, even if you bring your core guys. I feel like the matchup's going to be very favorable and evenly matchup. So it's going to come down to the wire. I think it's going to be one of those games. It's going to come down to who kicks the last field goal. Whoever does that wins. So I'm not going to predict who wins. I'm just going to say whoever gets that last possession and kicks that field goal is the winner. That's the way I look at it. It's going to come down to the wire. I can guarantee you that.
Maybe. We'll see. I mean, the 49ers, I didn't expect them to beat the Cowboys. I actually picked the Cowboys to win. I put it on my Twitter. I gave my predictions on Twitter because I haven't been making content recently. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised the 49ers won. It was just one of those things where I just felt that Dallas would come out and play well, but I was completely wrong. And yeah, I mean, I do think that it's one of those things where, Kyle Shanahan, he knows Matt LaFleur pretty well. He knows his tendencies, and I think that he's going to bring his best stuff. But at the same time, Matt LaFleur has evolved as a head coach over the past couple of years. I think it's one of those situations where we're going to see Matt LaFleur be able to make adjustments if need be. I think that Green Bay will start out fast to the point where they're going to just run to the finish line and not a whole lot of adjustments will be needed to be made, in my opinion. I don't think this game will be close. I really don't. I think the Green Bay will win by at least a touchdown. I think it's finally a time where Aaron Rodgers says, hey, the 49ers have had my number the past couple of years. I'm tired of it. We're going to just put them away. That's how I feel.
Okay, man. That's a good mindset. But before we get to the end of the show, I'm going to give you your final saying. You just tell the followers where to find you at, and you tell them what you do, and that's about it.
Oh, yeah, sure. So hello, everyone. If you're just now tuning in, my name is Jamon McKinney. I'm the host of the Juice Alert. A lot of people call me Juice or Juice Alert. You can choose whatever you want to call me. But, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I'm over on the Juice Alert. I pretty much talk about the NFL, college football as well a little bit, but mainly the NFL. I also talk a little bit about the NBA, the MLB a little bit, but mainly a football channel. Basketball as well and baseball sprinkled in. But yeah, I mean, I get my theories and opinions on sports, on quarterbacks, coaches, and things like that. I'll hopefully be getting back to making content pretty soon. And yeah, I have a lot of crazy opinions and theories, and a lot of people don't always agree with me, but it's always fun on the channel. It's always one of those things where, hey, I love interacting with people and talking about sports. And yeah, go follow the Juice Alert on YouTube as well as podcasting platforms. And also, if you haven't subscribed to this channel already right here, be sure to subscribe to my guy as well.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Yeah, dude, definitely, man. This should be a good game. If you feel like this is a no contest, then hey, that's good confidence. I like your confidence, and thanks for the chain, man. I hope the compliment for the chain, but hopefully one of your guys snacks on Debo's chain, because that's the only way you guys are gonna come away with that. I mean, we'll see about it, but yeah. But as always, bro, maybe in the near future we'll collaborate again. But it's good debate. You had some good breakdowns. There's some good solid points, but like you just said, you picked Dallas to beat us. So I don't know. We'll see, man. Like what was the last time that Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl? Wasn't he the underdog?
I mean, it was one of those things where it was on his rookie contract, and we were on the come up. But it's one of those things where, that team complemented each other in so many ways. It was one of those things where not only could Aaron Rodgers score 35 points on your head, the defense was very opportunistic and created a lot of turnovers. In the NFC Championship game versus Chicago, where the offense wasn't all that great, the defense bailed them out. And it's one of those things where Aaron Rodgers scores a bunch of points versus the Falcons. He beats the Eagles. It's one of those things where it's kind of fresh that we have a home playoff game where we're going to have home field advantage throughout, because the last time Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl was as a wild card. So the one thing I will say is I think that Aaron's one of those guys where he's so talented that I think he gets a little bored sometimes, where he kind of needs to create like this narrative that, hey, I'm the victim, everyone's out to get me. I think that he actually kind of tries to do that a little bit, just because, listen, I mean, Tom Brady kind of does those things where it's like, hey, I'm going to listen to these commentators doubt me. Michael Jordan, it was the same thing with him. It was always me against the world. Everyone's picking against me. So I think that it's one of those things where it's going to be interesting, because this is a situation where if you take away the animosity between Aaron Rodgers and the Packers organization, where you could say, oh, there's an excuse there. But outside of that, I mean, this is one of the situations where we expect Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl this year. Back in 2010, I mean, we were in the playoffs. We felt that Aaron Rodgers was really good, but did we really expect Green Bay to actually win the Super Bowl as a wild card team? I don't think so. I think a lot of people doubted us. So it's one of those things where, can Aaron Rodgers win a Super Bowl when he's the favorite, arguably? He's one of, if not the favorites. It's going to be very interesting, because it's one of those things where Aaron Rodgers has kind of been at his best when he's been doubted, because, even last year, people said, oh, Jordan Love's the future, Aaron Rodgers, his time is up. He goes out there and wins league MVP, maybe arguably again this year. I think that if I were to bet money, Aaron Rodgers probably is going to win the MVP again this year. So can Aaron Rodgers, as a favorite, win a Super Bowl? That's a big question, because when we were 15-1, granted, it wasn't all fault, but, we fell short, So, and it's one of those things where it's been a long time since people have actually looked at Green Bay as a whole and said, okay, not only do they have Aaron Rodgers, but they got a squad. Like, they have a legitimate defense. They have a head coach that can complement Aaron Rodgers and elevate his game. So it's going to be very interesting. But there's a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers. And, again, if he does not win a Super Bowl, he very well could be out of Green Bay. because again, he wants to stay in Green Bay, but that's not ultimately in his control, other than what goes on the field.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, that's a good argument there, dude. Appreciate you on the show. I know you got stuff to do. Yeah, dude, that's where it determines, like, because Rodgers is never like he never fares well with the pressure with the favorites. You know, usually when you're the underdog, there's not much pressure, and that's definitely something that could solidify Aaron Rodgers because the pressure's on him now. You're the number one seed. There's no excuses. You got all the supporting cast around you, so there's no excuses there. And Matt LaFleur is in his third or fourth year, so come on, there's no excuses there. So yeah, all right, bro. So
Sure.
we're gonna hit on a good note. Good debate, bro. Looking forward to the near future. Have a good one, bro.